Hi everyone, today we will go through the CA2 exam revision presentation, and this presentation will include all the KPIs which are coming in your CA2 exam. So first of all, let us have a quick look on the topics included in CA2 exam. The topics included in the CA2 exam are 7.2 Organization of the nervous system, 7.3 Senses, 7.4 Effects of drugs, 8.1 Reproductive system, male and female, and 8.2 Human growth and development. So first of all, let us go through topic 7.2 Organization of the nervous system. In this topic, we have specific KPIs to go through. So first of all, we have to identify the structure and function of the brain to include cerebrum, cerebellum, hypothalamus, cerebral cortex, and brainstem, including pons and medulla. The most important thing over here is identify the structure. So you have to be able to label the structures, and then you should be able to identify their function. So for example, you can say that you can see the cerebrum over here. This is the cerebrum, the largest part of the brain that is included in the reasoning, thinking, and many other processes like speaking, speech, memory. Then the second is, in this area you can see this leaf-like structure, something like that at near the bottom of the brain. This is called as cerebellum. There is a difference. The upper one is called cerebrum and this one is called as cerebellum. Cerebellum is mainly included in the balance of the body. We will see more details in the table coming up. Then here you can see on the top area, you can see hypothalamus. The brainstem is divided into two parts. The upper, more swollen area is called as the pons, and lower, less swollen area is called as the medulla oblongata. And the bottom, which is going away from the brain, is called as the spinal cord. In this table, you can easily see that each part has a detail about its structure and its function. The most important over here that you have to understand is you need to learn the part and its function. So for example, cerebrum is included in learning, memory, language, speech, and voluntary body functions like movement and other sensory perceptions. Cerebrum, which was the leaf-like structure at the bottom of the brain near the hindbrain, this is called as cerebellum, and it is included in controlling balance, maintaining posture and coordination of the body. It is located at the end of the brain, and it is involved in motor skills like playing a piano or riding a bike. And playing a piano or riding a bike, in both cases you need to balance the body. Hypothalamus is mainly involved in your thermoregulation and osmoregulation. We have studied thermoregulation and osmoregulation in the previous topics. So it is involved in maintaining water, temperature, appetite, also involved in regulating blood pressure, sleep-wake cycle, aggression, fear, and sexual behavior. Cerebral cortex, it plays main role in attention, perception, awareness, memory, language, and consciousness. Brainstem, which we studied, that it is divided into two parts, pons, the upper part, and medulla, the lower part. Pons play an important role in passing the signals between the parts of the brain, and it controls the rate of the breathing. The most important function is over here. And the medulla, it controls blood pressure, it controls breathing rate, heart rate, and blood pressure. We have a question over here that you have to label the parts of the brain and then describe and explain the function of each. So we have done it already. You can pause the video and go through the labeling and learning the structures more. Next important thing is to describe the functions of the major divisions of the nervous system. So you know that the nervous system is mainly divided into two parts, CNS and PNS. So you have to know these two first. Then the PNS is further divided into somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. And then autonomic nervous system is divided into sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. The more details about these, somatic nervous system is called the voluntary. So it involves all your muscle, skeletal muscle movements, and autonomic nervous system is involuntary, like the digestive system, breathing, respiratory, and the heart rate. All these are not in your control. Then autonomic is further divided into two: sympathetic, which controls the organs in the time of the stress, like fight or flight conditions, when your heart rate is very high; and parasympathetic nervous system, it controls the organs when the body is at rest. So mainly digestive system is more active when the parasympathetic nervous system is working. This is another outlay of the same concept. So you have central nervous system, which coordinates all the body activities, and peripheral nervous system, which carries the message to and from the central nervous system. Somatic, mainly the voluntary system, and autonomic, mainly the involuntary system. Sympathetic, it controls at the time of the stress, and parasympathetic when the body is at rest. You should be able to know the main difference between the somatic and autonomic nervous system. So we just on the previous slide we saw that the somatic nervous system is the one which is voluntary, and here the skeletal muscle movements are being discussed. So it is a voluntary system, and here voluntary movements and reflexes are part of this nervous system. And here it carries the impulses from the central nervous system to heart and internal organs, which is mainly involuntary, and it is not in our conscious control. Another way to have a difference between the somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system, and to check what is common in both. Both are parts of the peripheral nervous system and produces involuntary responses. Definitely sometimes the somatic nervous system also works as involuntary. You can pause and read it in detail. Further, we have to see the actions of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system by including examples. So the most important example, when you have a nightmare to find yourself, or you find yourself in a scary situation. So scary situation is like fight or flight condition. So when we talk about fight or flight condition, it means that the body is in stress. So when we say that the body is in stress, it means that the sympathetic nervous system is working. And when everything is calm, your body is at rest and it's mostly digesting, so it means that the parasympathetic nervous system is working over here. So autonomic nervous system is mainly divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. This explains the same over here. We have two branches of the autonomic nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic in the time of emergency, when you have stress, and parasympathetic when the body is mainly relaxed. We have to explain how the sympathetic and parasympathetic, they work together to maintain homeostasis. You know that homeostasis is maintaining the internal environmental conditions. So whether your body is at rest or it is very active, in both cases the parasympathetic counterbalances the effect of the sympathetic nervous system. So in this way they restore the body's normal resting state, and it helps you to be in a homeostatic position. We will see a table on the next to discuss more. Here is the table that explains more examples in the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Remember, just few moments before we have discussed sympathetic is the one when your body is in stress position, okay, and parasympathetic is the one when your body is rest, cool and calm, and mostly digestive system is working here. You can pause and read it in all detail examples. Here we have topic 7.3, which is called as senses. So we will continue now through the senses of human body. So here we are going to differentiate between the two types of the sensory receptors in the eye, which are rods and cones. Remember that eye is the part of our body, and it's one of the senses and one of the most precious senses that help us to see. These parts are just like the labelings, from here till here. These are the labelings and what happens and what is the function of each part. So remember that the retina contains the numerous receptor cells, and these receptor cells are called as rods and cones. So first of all, we will go through the rods. So rods are the parts of the light sensitive cells, and they provide information in the dark. So remember, rod is important part of the eye. It is a photoreceptor, but it works mostly in the dark light, or you can say that in the less light, dim light. Cones, on the other hand, are the type of the photoreceptors which work in bright light, okay, and they provide information for about color. So the message is sent to the brain by the optic nerve, and then it is being translated, and we can easily see by the help of the rods and cones. This slide also tells us the difference between the rods and the cones, and like what is common in both. So definitely both are the receptors in the eye. Rods work in dim light, and they help you to detect shape and movement, mostly produce a black and white image, and cones are adapted for sharp vision in the bright light and help you to detect colors. So this is how we differentiate between rods and cones. Now here are some questions that can help you to answer. So lists everything that your sensory receptors can do. So they can help you see, smell, hear, taste and touch. So definitely the 5 senses. And the difference between the rods and the cones we have discussed already. You can go through. Differentiate between the two types of the sensory receptors in the ear, and these are called as the cochlea and semicircular canals. Remember that ear has a very important function, not only listening but also balancing of your body, because there are the semicircular canals in your ear which help your body to maintain the balance or equilibrium. There are 3 semicircular canals present in your body which transmit the information about your body to the brain, and then definitely these the most important thing over here in the semicircular canals is that they are fluid filled and they have tiny hair cells. Okay, so when the position of your head changes, the fluid within the body within the semicircular canals also move, and it causes your hair cells in the ear to bend, which in turn sends the nerve impulses to the brain. Here the brain is very important organ. You know, it's the control center, so it directly sends you to mind your position. Okay, so whether your body is in still or in motion, it helps you to maintain your balance. So just quickly, the semicircular canals help you to maintain balance. These are fluid filled and they have tiny hairs within them to maintain the body balance. In addition, what we studied before, the sound waves, they enter in your ear through auditory canal or the ear canal, and they hit the eardrum or the tympanum. to produce the sound. But most important over here, you have to know that in your inner ear there is a snail shaped structure which is known as the cochlea, which is also one of the receptor in the ear, and it is fluid filled and lined with the tiny hair cells. So basically the vibrations which are produced in this fluid are detected by the hair cells. So these hair cells respond by generating the nerve impulse, and this nerve impulse is carried to the brain from the auditory nerve. Don't forget that there was optic nerve in the ear, but auditory nerve in the there was optic nerve in the eye, but auditory nerve in the ear. Now, the question, we have to differentiate between the two types of receptors in the ear. Don't forget that we have receptors which are called as the cochlea and the semicircular canals. So cochlea is a structure which is a snail shape, fluid filled and lined with the hair. It helps in hearing by sending information to the brain, and the semicircular canals send information to the brain about the body position and balance. Next sense, that is known as the sense of touch. In this one, we are going to talk about the different sensory receptors in the skin. And there are three main sensory receptors about temperature, pressure, and pain. You can pause to go over this slide, but I will prefer to go through the question, which is on the next. So let's go there. So we say that list three types of the sensory receptors which are found in the skin, so located within the body. So first of all, there is a temperature receptor, there is a pressure receptor, and there is a pain receptor. So we have to see that the fingertips may have many receptors for the light touch, and this touch can help you to detect the temperature, pain, and pressure as well. The most sensitive parts for the skin are the fingertips. Sole of your feet have many receptors for heavy pressure, and the pain receptors are present all over the body except the brain. So brain doesn't have the pain receptors. But the senses of taste and smell both are stimulated by chemicals and they work together. Now, remember that the tongue has taste buds that help us to differentiate between different tastes like sweet, sour, salty, and bitter. These are sometimes they work in combination. And the common between the taste and the smell, we discussed that both are stimulated by chemicals. This question, which of the following statements best explains the relationship between the taste and smell? We discussed that the chemicals, remember, both have receptors for the chemicals, so definitely this is correct directly. Then the receptors of the taste and smell work together. Yes, often they work together. Food is often smelled as tasted. Yes, so whatever you taste, these receptors are perceived as the smell of the food. So for example, if you have like flu and your nose is blocked, you cannot hear, so still you can smell it the same as you taste. Now let's have a look at topic 7.4 that talks about effects of drugs and alcohol on our body. So first of all, we have some key terms which are very, very important. You can go through these key terms one by one by pausing the video, but I will give you a quick hint of these terms. So depressants are like which slows down your nervous system, and the opposites are stimulants which speed up or make you more alert for your nervous system. Addiction is when you need the drug for psychological dependence or physiological dependence. Psychological dependence mean when your emotions are linked with the drug. And physical or physiological dependence mean when the body's functions are dependent on the drugs. Then tolerance is like when you need more and more of the same drug to get the same effect. Remember, the effect is same. And dependence is to rely on the drug. Very important, four ways how the drugs affect your nervous system, or how the drugs affect your neurotransmitters. Basically, you have studied about neurotransmitters, the chemical messenger which is released from one neuron into the synapses to transmit the impulse to the other neuron. So we have over here, like a drug can cause the increase in the amount of the neurotransmitter. This is number one. Number two, a drug can block the receptor site of the neuron. Number three, a drug can prevent a neurotransmitter from leaving the synapse. And number four, a drug can imitate a neurotransmitter or copy a neurotransmitter. Very important four effects of the drugs. Learn them to understand more. Let's have a quick look at the question. So the question says, describe the four ways. So same four ways you have to say to increase the amount of the neurotransmitter, blocks the receptor, prevent the neurotransmitter to leave synapse, and imitate or act like the neurotransmitter or copy the neurotransmitter. In this KPI, we will discuss and differentiate between the tolerance, the two types of addiction, like the psychological and the physiological addiction. So first of all, tolerance, we discussed it already in the vocabulary, that it occurs when a person needs more and more of the same drug for the same effect. So remember, the same and the same. And the psychological and the physiological dependence on a drug is called addiction. And we discussed it already. Like the psychological is for the emotions and physiological is for the body activities. Let us have a look at the practice questions to discuss more. So basically over here you have the description or the examples, and you need to choose from here tolerance, psychological dependence, and physiological dependence. So in the description it says that strongly desiring for feel and pleasure. So when we talk about for the feel and pleasure, it means that it is the physical need of the body. It's like about the physiological. Needing more and more of the same drug for the same effect, it is tolerance. And strongly desiring the drug for emotional reasons, so definitely it is psychological dependence. There is no doubt that the drugs and alcohol affect the male and the female reproductive system. So we need to see that what is the influence of these on the reproductive system. So in the male, we have reduced production of the testosterone, might be breast becomes enlarged, and the sperm structure becomes abnormal. In case of the female, the irregular menstrual cycle, but the most important is the common between the two is infertility. So you can see that this is common between male and female. Infertility, which is the ability to reproduce, will be down, so they become unable to produce and sperm or produce egg, and then the reproduction will be affected, or there will be no reproduction at all. That's what we call as infertility. With that, we reach to the end of topic 7.4 as well. Now we will jump to chapter 8 and topic 8.1. So topic 8.1 is about the reproductive system. We will look into the male and the female reproductive system. So let's have a look at some important terminologies in the first. So first of all, sperm, male gamete, a half chromosome number produced by the testes. and passed out of the body through the copulatory organ that is called as the penis, which has urethra going through it. The sperms are produced and removed out of the body in a thick fluid form, which is a yellowish color fluid, and it is called as the semen. Sperms are produced by the testosterone, and these are under the control of the male sex hormone, and they release the sperm. Sterility is when the body becomes unable to produce or reproduce. It's kind of the same as infertility. Fertilization is the term when sperm and egg join together. So you know that the sperm has 23 chromosome number and egg has 23 chromosome number. When they both join, they result in the formation of 46. So 23 plus 23 is 46, which is the complete chromosome number in the body. On the other hand, we have egg, which is a female reproductive gamete. It also has half chromosome number, which is produced from the organ called ovaries, two ovaries, in a process called ovulation. And the female reproductive system has different organs called different structures, like vagina, where the sperms are deposited, which receive the sperm; cervix, the opening of the uterus. The uterus is the bag-like structure commonly known as the womb, where the baby develops for the whole pregnancy. And it comes into the uterus when it has been converted into an embryo. The embryo comes and attach with the uterus, and then later on it converts into fetus until the baby is born. So our first target is to identify the structures and their functions of the male reproductive system. So we can have any view, either the side view or the front view. So here you have the side view, here you have the front view. Any diagram is good enough to do the labelings. So we have the organs. We will go into the more details. Let's have a look at the next picture. So in this one we have the labeling and the functions also. So first of all, we have the copulatory organ, penis. We have after that the urethra, which is a tube that passes the sperm as well as the urine out of the body. So at the same time, sperm as well as urine can go out. Then we have the testes, which are 2 in number, and they produce the male reproductive hormone, which is called as the testosterone. At the top of the testes, there is a coiled tube, which is very highly coiled tube, which is called as epididymis. So sperms are produced from the testes, they go into the epididymis and stay there until their maturation. After that, we have another tube which is leaving the epididymis, called as the vas deferens, which transport the sperms from the testes or epididymis into the glands. The first gland which comes on the path is called as a very small one you have over here. This is called as the bulbourethral gland, and this is very important gland which produce the lubricating fluid. Other gland which is over here just near the bulbourethral gland, this is called as the prostate gland, and this is also very important to release the substances to be a component of the semen. After that, the vas deferens, we have the seminal vesicles. These seminal vesicles are a pair of glands that secrete fructose for the energy, and the prostaglandins to be part of the semen. Last one, we have the ejaculatory duct, which pass the semen out of the body through urethra. In this table, all the parts, the reproductive organs and the accessory glands are listed. You can pause and go through in detail. Question: identify the functions of the parts. So first of all, you need to know what are these parts. So you can easily look over here. A is the tube, not the outer one. So this is different organ. We can label it like, let's say, E. So A is the tube in the passing inside E. So E is called as penis, and the tube passing through the penis is called as urethra. So we should be able to know the labelings as well. So just like 1 minute. So we will call that this is urethra. Okay, and urethra, it carries both sperm and semen out of the body. Then we have B. B is called as the prostate gland. It looks like bladder, but don't be confused. If it is bladder, it should not be connected over here with the other glands. Okay, so you can go back and check the detailed image how the bladder looks like. So B is called as the prostate gland. Okay, so we call it as the prostate gland. Let's label it first, and then we will read down the function. So prostate gland, it releases alkaline solution to neutralize the acids in the semen. Then we have the C, which is called as the bulbourethral gland. So this bulbourethral gland is another accessory gland out of the three we studied. Remember, we studied three accessory glands: prostate gland, bulbourethral gland, and the seminal vesicles. The bulbourethral gland also adds alkaline solution. You can see the asterisk over here. So read this asterisk. It says that it work together for the same function. Then we have D, and D is very clear. It is testes, and the role of the testes is to produce the progesterone and the sperm. Okay, so remember this one. Now explain the importance of the substances in the semen. So we studied that the semen is a thick fluid which is expelled through the penis during sexual activity. So we need to know, like, what are the components of the semen and who adds these components. So the three accessory glands, definitely they add up into this fluid. First of all, seminal vesicles, they secrete fructose and prostaglandins. Prostate glands secrete buffering chemicals to neutralize the acids, and bulbourethral gland thick mucus fluid which neutralize the urine or the acidity in the urethra. Now we will move to the female reproductive system. We have to identify the structure and the functions of the female reproductive system. So the parts are very, very important. So have a look at this image, because in the practice question you need to label the same kinds of the names. So very important to know out of these. So outermost part is called as vagina. Here, this area is called as the cervix. Okay, it is not labeled over here, but we can do the labeling. Then we have the uterus. Then we have this embryo which is being implanted into the uterus. We have ovary showing over here, which releases the egg, and this egg can be fertilized into the fallopian tube, which results in the formation of the zygote, and so on. This diagram gives more detail about each part and the details about their function. So first of all, let's say about the ovary. So we have a pair of ovary, like the pair of testes in the male. So this pair of ovary release eggs and some other glands called estrogen and progesterone, which are very important. The oviduct is the tube-like structure. You can see if this is the ovary. So after the ovary, we have this tube, This is called as the fallopian tube, where the fertilization takes place. So a usual site of fertilization. Then we have the uterus, which is a chamber called womb, where the embryo develops until the baby is delivered. We have the cervix, which is the end of the uterus, and we have vagina, which is the organ for the sexual intercourse, and the sperm are released over here. This is also known as the birth canal because the baby is delivered from here. Here we have more detailed view of the same image. Let us move to the practice question directly. So we have the labelings over here, A till E, and we need to identify the functions. They are not saying to do the label, so you don't need to label, but let's say you can only know the functions if you know the name. So we will do the labelings first. So what is A? I'm sure that you know it now. This is called as vagina, okay, and the B, which is between uterus and the vagina, this is called as cervix, and the C is the womb, or called as uterus. Okay, where the baby is developed until the birth. D is definitely everyone know about it. These are known as the ovaries, which release egg, and E is the fallopian tube. E is the fallopian tube. So there is another name. Try to think of it. What is the other name of this tube? So fallopian tube. Yes, I'm sure you must have thought of oviduct. So this is also known as the oviduct. So it is either oviduct or fallopian tube. Okay, let me just fix this not to mix up. Okay, so now you can see A, vagina, leads to outside of the female body where the sperms are deposited, also known as the birth canal. B, lower part of the uterus, which is the opening to the vagina, so sperms can go in through here, or the baby can be delivered from here. C, where the baby develops before birth, is the womb. D, ovaries, so they produce and release the egg, also make hormones called estrogen and progesterone. Then E is the fallopian tube, transport eggs from the ovary to the uterus, and the site of fertilization. Please don't forget, these are the site of fertilization, or you can say fertilization takes place over here. Okay, so let us move next for the more questions. Explain how hormones regulate the male reproductive system. Please focus whether the hormones are asked about the male or the female. So we have 4 hormones: testosterone, GnRH, FSH, and LH. Because FSH and LH are also in the female, that's why I'm saying that you have to focus whether the question targets the male hormone or the female hormone. So testosterone is sperm production and development of the male characteristics. Actually, these characteristics are called as the secondary sex characteristics, like the deepening of the voice or facial hair, pubic hair, the muscle development. GnRH, gonadotrophin releasing hormone, it increases the production of FSH and LH. LH, luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone is in male, it causes the production and secretion of the testosterone. So be careful that it is involved in the production and secretion of the testosterone. Testosterone is a male secondary sex character hormone. Okay. FSH is a follicle stimulating hormone, and this follicle stimulating hormone promotes the production of the sperm. Basically, common name for the follicle is egg, but egg is in the female. So here in the male, we will say that it is involved in the production of the sperm. And sperm is also known as the male gamete. And remember that if it is a gamete, it will have half chromosome number. That means 23 chromosomes. Now, the same question, like how the hormones regulate, but where? In the female reproductive system. And as we discussed, LH and FSH will be repeated. They were also there in the male. Other hormones, we have progesterone and estrogen. So we will look into it. Estrogen, just like testosterone, it is involved in the secondary sex characters in the female. So it will result in the breast development, hip widening, and the fat tissues increase. But these were different in the male. Progesterone, it regulates the LH and FSH level just like the GnRH. So they are like kind of parallel. If you learn one, you can replace the name for the other. LH causes the ovulation to occur. Ovulation is the release of egg. LH FSH is the one which causes the production of follicles in the female ovaries. Remember, in the previous one for the male, we said causes the production of follicles in male, that was sperm. And over here, this is called as egg, and egg is also known as the female gamete. It is known as the gamete, and this gamete is also having half chromosome number, that means 23. Now here we will talk about the major phases that takes place in the menstrual cycle in the female. Menstrual cycle is like a cycle, so it is on average on 28 days. So it starts with day 1 till day 5. It's first phase, then from 5 to 14 it's the second phase, and then 14 to 28, this is called as the third phase. Let's have a look in detail. So from day 1 to day 5, this is called as the flow phase, bleeding or menstruation. So if the fertilization doesn't occur until day 28 in the previous cycle, the uterus lining, the unfertilized egg, and everything comes out of the body with the blood. This is called as the flow phase that lasts from day 1 to day 5. Follicular phase, the new egg again starts to develop, and it is released during this stage, that's called as ovulation, during the day 66 to 14. So ovulation takes place in this stage. The last one is the luteal phase from day 15 to day 28. The main the main thing that happened over here is that the corpus luteum is formed after the ovulation has been taken place. Also, the progesterone level increases in the uterus. Let's have a brief of it by the help of a question. So we say that name and briefly explain what happens in each stage. So you have over here stages labeled as Z, X, and Y. So you can easily understand them. So Z is from day 1 to day 5. So that is definitely called as the flow phase. Then we have the second one, which is X, from day 6 to day 14. So that is called as the follicular phase. And then day 15 till day 28, that is called as the luteal phase, that is labeled as Y. So don't go for X, Y, and Z because they can be in different orders. So here Z is the flow phase, X is the luteal phase, and Y is the follicular phase. So what happens in the flow phase, that is the menstrual flow or menstruation. In the follicular phase, the ovulation occurs, that is the release of the egg, and 15 to 28 corpus luteum is formed after the release of the egg, that is like a yellowish body. We will move to the next phase, we'll move to the next question. The last KPI of this topic 8.1 is define meiosis and the process during which the gametes are produced. So like you can easily define meiosis from here. So meiosis is a process during which the gametes are produced, and each gamete is having a half chromosome number. So easily you can say that these half chromosome numbers are like 23 for sperm and 23 for egg. When they join together, they result in the formation of a zygote, which is 46. Remember, sperm and egg are called haploid because they have half chromosome number, while zygote is a diploid having a full chromosome number. A quick question over here, which of the below statements is true or are true? So it means that either one or more. So gametes are produced during meiosis, yes. Cells produced have the half chromosome number, yes. Meiosis is also known as fertilization, no. So it means that 1 and 2 are correct. With that, we reach to end of topic 8.1. Now we will move to the last topic, that is 8.2, human growth and development. That's the last topic, 8.2. First KPI, which is a continuation from the last KPI, topic 8.1, define fertilization. Now actually they are defining the fertilization in the KPIs itself, just like the same as meiosis. So for example, define meiosis as the process that produces gametes. Here, define fertilization as the process that restores the chromosome number by combining egg and sperm to form a new individual. So restore the chromosome number mean the total chromosome number like 46 by combining 23 from the egg with 23 from the sperm. This diagram now recalls both like meiosis and the fertilization as well. So meiosis is a type of cell division which causes the half chromosome number produced in the gametes, while fertilization which restores the chromosome number to 46. Here it's quite obvious, sperm joins with egg to result in the zygote, that is called as fertilization. Questions, what process is shown in the image? So you can easily see this is egg fusing with the sperm, so it is resulting in zygote. So this process is definitely called as the ovulation. And the next one, we have done this question already in the previous attempt. Almost near to the end. Describe the role of placenta. So first of all, we need to know like what is placenta. So placenta is an organ that develops in the female uterus during pregnancy only, and this is very, very important for supplying oxygen and nutrients to the baby and removing the waste materials and carbon dioxide from the baby. So we will move to have more detail about placenta. So this is a book reading. So placenta is mainly developed like after fertilization. Tiny finger-like projections called chorionic villi, they start to grow in the wall of the uterus and they result in the formation of placenta. This provides food and oxygen. So nutrients, oxygen are given to the fetus. On the other hand, the metabolic wastes and carbon dioxide are removed out of the body. So this is like which is removed from the baby by the help of placenta, and this is like which is supplied to the baby from the placenta to the mother, from the mother to the fetus. And on the other hand, we also need to know that like not only oxygen and nutrients can travel, but also alcohol, drugs, and some viruses and some antibodies also travel from the mother to the fetus. But remember, these alcohol, drugs, and the HIV viruses, these harm the baby. They are not important things to travel. So if you are asked like what important things are traveled, so this is only oxygen and nutrients. So this summarizes like what happens between the mother, fetus, and the placenta. So placenta regulates the control of what passes from the mother to the fetus. Oxygen and nutrients, antibodies which are good, they go to the fetus, but otherwise alcohol and other drugs and the viruses may also go which harm the baby. Wastes are the carbon dioxide and other metabolic wastes can be passed out of the fetus to the mother through placenta. Remember, both mother and the placenta, the fetus, they have a separate, totally distinguished blood circulatory system. They do not cross each other. They do not mix the blood because their circulatory systems are totally different. Very important thing to know, what is the difference between the term zygote, embryo and fetus. Just recall, we studied that zygote is formed by the fusion of the sperm and egg in the process of fertilization. Zygote develop into embryo in the early stages of life when the organs started to form, and when the organs are almost developed after week 11, this is called as the fetus, and until it is delivered from the mother body, it is named as the fetus. The last one, probably we have to go through the no sorry this is the second last one. We have to summarize the development that occurs during the trimester. So trimester mean the pregnancy is totally of 9 months. Okay, so this pregnancy is divided into 3 trimesters. So first trimester, first 3 months almost, second trimester and third trimester. So we have to see what mainly happens in each trimester. So the first trimester, all tissues, organs and organ systems develop, and mainly in this stage the fetus is very, or the embryo is very vulnerable to the effects of the environmental changes, and by the end of this trimester the fetus can move its arms, fingers, toes and make facial expressions. Also the fingerprints are formed. Moving to the second trimester, which is like it's a period of growth. Normally this is known as the period of growth from around 18 to 20 weeks. So you can say that almost 4 months. But normally on average, as we discussed, maybe 3 months each, we call it as on average. What happens in this trimester? The baby starts, the fetus starts sucking its thumb and can develop the hiccups. Also the mother can feel kicks because the baby starts moving. Hair usually form, the eyes are open. Okay, like this is very important stage for all the developmental changes which takes place in the growth stage. So now it's the third trimester, during which two main things are happening. One, that is the growth is taking place at a very rapid rate, and the new nerve cells are being made, like the brain development is going, and the rate of these nerve cells is like 250,000 cells per minute are being formed. The most important thing over here is that the baby can respond to the environment, like such as the music or the mother's voice. Because of these nerve cells, the baby can like sense the changes in the environment and can respond to those changes. Here, this table mainly summarizes all the events that we have discussed before, like the first trimester, second trimester and third trimesters. What happens over here? You can also watch these videos from the PDF format, and it's quite easy to have a look over here. For example, the first trimester, the tissues, organs and organ systems develop, the toes and the fingers are made, and the facial expressions happen, fingerprints are also present. In the second trimester, you can have a look at the baby suckling and the hiccups. Also, if the baby is born in this stage, it's very hard for the baby to survive outside the mother uterus. Also, the baby lungs are underdeveloped. In the third trimester, in the second trimester also, you can hear the heartbeat of the baby with the stethoscope. In the third trimester, there is a very rapid growth. New nerve cells are being formed at a very faster rate. So this table is a good summary of all what we studied. Moving to the major events in the form of a question. So it can be asked you like list the major events. So you can say that in the first trimester, second or third trimester, what happens. So you can easily highlight from here. In the first trimester, all tissues, organs and organ systems made. There are facial expressions and the fingerprints, arms, fingers and toes are made. Second trimester, you can hear the heartbeat, you can see suckling thumb, hiccups, hair form and eyes open. In the third trimester, rapid growth and the brain development. So in addition to that, the baby can respond to the environment. There we go, the last KPI that describe the techniques which are used to diagnose or detect the medical condition. So basically the baby is in the mother's womb for 9 months. So if the doctors need to know if there is any problem with the baby, so how they can do it. So this diagram also illustrates like they can use an ultrasound scanner or they can use a syringe to take the fluid from the mother body, and they can go for the DNA analysis. So that's over here, you can go for the DNA analysis to find if there is any problem. So ultrasound is a kind of technique that use sound waves and it is converted into an image, and this can be done in any trimester, so either 1, 2 or 3. The main purpose of this is to see if the baby is growing properly, if the baby position is good, and what is the gender of the fetus. So we need to see that if the baby is male or female. This can be done in any trimester, first, second or third. But if we go to the amniocentesis, so in the amniocentesis, this is mainly done in the second trimester, and CVS is mainly done in the first trimester. So this one is done in the first, so yeah, this one is mainly done in the first trimester, and this one, the CVS, is done mainly first. The amniocentesis is done mainly in the second trimester. So you should know that amniocentesis is usually performed in the second semester. What they do, they insert a needle through the abdomen of the pregnant woman. They take the amniotic fluid, remove it, and analyze for DNA analysis. The same is done with the chorion in the chorionic villus sampling in the first trimester. In this one, so this actually summarizes all the techniques. This is really very important. You can say that the first one, chorionic villus sampling, which is known as CVS. So chorionic villus sampling, it is done in the first trimester, very important to know. And then the doctors, they take the cell from the chorion and they analyze them for the karyotype, and karyotype is called as the DNA analysis. Okay, so they do for the DNA analysis to do and check the medical conditions of the baby. Ultrasound, as we discussed, it can be done in the first, second or third trimester. Don't worry, it's just mentioned over here third trimester, so no worries. It is used to identify the gender of the baby, the growth of the baby, and the position of the baby. Amniocentesis is mainly done in the second trimester, and amniotic fluid is taken by the help of a needle, and it is also done, the analysis is done to detect if there is any medical condition in the baby. There you go, we are all done, and good luck for your exam, and be a champion, try to score the best. My all wishes with you. I hope that this video has helped you a lot, and please, if you have any confusion, rewatch it or text in the chat. I will definitely reply you as quick as possible. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best for the